Hi and welcome everyone. It's Kathleen here. And first of all, I hope you can hear me and see me fine. My voice is still a little bit weird, but I think I will manage today's live. So welcome to another YouTube live session here on the Pink Fish Studio channel. Behind the Pink Fish Studio name, it's Jody today. And she's going to help me out in the chat if you have any questions. And speaking of questions, if you do have one, then please make sure you put the word question in all caps at the beginning so that we can easily spot it and answer. Yeah, just as usual, a few housekeeping things to get out of the way. We are giving away 4 $50 gift cards, 2 during the live and then 2 on the replay. So for those watching the live, make sure that you comment in the chat. Every time you write something in the chat is another entry to win. So let us know if you already follow us or already subscribe. And if you don't, make sure that you do. If you shared this video, for example, and then if you have any questions or if you can help out other people watching, then again, that's another entry to win. And at the end of this live, Jody is going to randomly pick 2 winners. And then for those of you who are watching this as a replay, make sure that you leave a comment below, letting us know maybe what product you like the most in today's live, or maybe what new tip or trick you learned. And then we are also going to randomly pick 2 winners from that. All right. So for today, I have in the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks since the Homespun with Heart release went live, we've been focusing, so we, meaning Carissa and I, have been focusing a lot on the Stitch Edit line of that release. So we've shared quite a few, and Jody went live with me for the sneak peek live. So we've shared lots of project ideas with the Stitch Edit, so those products that are kind of stitching, sewing themed. And today I'm going to pick a different product suite from the same release that has nothing to do with this Stitch Edit line, because I wanted to show you that there's more in that release that you shouldn't miss out on. All right, let me flip my camera and show you what I have picked for today so far. We will see, if I stick to that or not. Okay, so the product suite I'm going to focus on today is the Trailing Grace. This is a stencil and die only product suite. So you have a 3-piece layering stencil set and then a 1-piece coordinating die that die cuts those ink blended elements. And here is a mock-up of what that can look like. So you have, once you're done with ink blending and die cutting, you will have 3 separate elements of this kind of oriental style bloom. And then for a sentiment, since this doesn't come with a stamp set, I picked the Room for Joy product suite that was also part of the same release. And this is a sentiment only set. So you have an 8-piece clear stamp set. So this is a 4x6 stamp set with 8 separate sentiments. And there's also a coordinating press plate set. So you have a press plate for each of those 8 sentiments. And then there's a coordinating die for each of those 8 sentiments as well. And excuse me. When I was working on creating the project samples for that release, I already hot foiled some sentiments with the Room for Joy press plates, and I have 3 left. So I thought I would just make use of these. So we will see which one of those will fit best. And just a friendly reminder, there is you can use the press plates for either hot foiling or for a letter press effect. I just wanted to hot foil because I'm always excited when we have sentiments or press plates for sentiments. But of course, you can also letter press. Now, the CC Gilbert is asking why no stamp. I'm guessing you're referring to the trailing grays. And that is because this is part of our stencil and die only lineup. So we have quite a few product suites that are designed that way. And the special thing about those is that, so this is one of those leaves that I have left over from a different card, that we have no white outline. And this is only possible when we have no stamp, because obviously when you have a stamp, you have to be very precise with die cuttings. So you need to have that little bit of white space around it to make sure that you have a nice die cut. But with a stencil and die only, and you will see this once I start working on it, you have more possibilities, and therefore you have this no white outline look. Now for my colors, very untypical for me that I already picked colors. We will see if I stick to those or not. I have mint, evergreen, lemon whip, apricot, clementine, and coral reef. I was feeling kind of springy because yesterday it started, like 2 days ago, it was almost warm-ish. I mean, 10 degrees, well, 10 degrees Celsius. No idea what that is in Fahrenheit. But yesterday, it just out of the blue, more or less, it started snowing, and we had like 10-15 centimeters of snow, or 6 inches. That would be. All right. Okay, so I'm going to start ink blending the trailing grays. And the way this works is that you start with ink blending and then do the die cutting. So let me just grab the stencils. So you have, as I said, 3 stencils, and you always have these, hold on, can you see that? Here, these edged corners that are there, or that have the measurements of like an A2 panel, so they line up with an A2 panel. So I'm going to use these to line up my first stencil with this A2 panel. This is 100-pound Hammermill cardstock, perfect for ink blending. And then I'm going to start with the leaves. So the first stencil is only leaves. And I'm just going to start with a 1-inch blending brush and mint, and pretty much do kind of an all-over blend, but not completely even, because these are leaves, so I like having some areas that are darker, some that are lighter. I'm not going to think about like shadows or light sources or anything like that. I'm just going to, go ahead and ink blend. So this was mint. And I'm going to use evergreen with a 1/2-inch blending brush and just do some darker shading, around the sort of the base or the stem or whatever you want to call it. And what was I going to say? Oh, right. With these stencil and die only product suites. Now, hold on, let me zoom you in a little bit. Sorry for the sniffling. Okay. With the stencil and die only product suites, they always have these alignment triangles. Now, I don't want to cover them completely with evergreen, so I'm just going to use a pencil, but normally you would just ink blend over them. But just so you can see them better, I'm going to use a pencil. And these are what you're going to use to line up the next stencils. And that's super easy, super handy, and that is also what you're going to use to line up your die. So you don't need, because normally you would have your stamped outline or your hot foil outline that would help you line up your die. But with something like this, you obviously don't have that. So we include these alignment triangles. And they make lining things up so easy. Again, sorry for the sniffling. So So I'm just going to add a little bit. As I said, I'm not thinking about light sources. I'm just doing a little bit of darker here, lighter there, whatever, you know, feels right. Hold on. Did I miss something? I don't know. And I'm just going to get rid of some of the ink on my stencil. I'm going to clean it later, but just so that I don't completely smear and smudge my hands. So now I have stencil number 2, and as you can see, you again have these alignment triangles. So this time, instead of those edges, those corners, I mean, which you could use. If you used them before, technically, you would also be able to line up your image perfectly by lining up those corners. But the triangles are so much easier to see, so it's just quicker and easier and kind of foolproof. So there's that. Now this is again kind of, so apart from this, this is a flower center, but the other 2 pieces are more kind of still part of the leafy bits of the flowers. So I'm going to use the greens again. Just going to use whatever is left on my evergreen brush. Not going to ink it up again. And then for the flower center, I'm going to use Lemon Whip. Oops. And one more stencil to go. So this is a 3-piece stencil set. And again, looking for those triangles and already have it lined up. And there is a little bit of wiggle room. So even if you don't get them perfectly lined up, and you will see that once I die cut this, you will see that there is a little bit of wiggle room, kind of a bleed around the die cut image. I'm just checking if I missed any questions. I don't think I did, but if I did, then please just ask again. Okay, as I said, I was feeling springy, so I'm going to use Coral Reef. I think I'm going to use that for the largest flower right here. And I'm going to use my 1/2-inch blending brush and just start with a circular motion in the flower center. And so I put my brush down on that stencil part that covers the flower center so that I don't get any kind of like harsh outlines or kind of a blob on my paper. And then I put it down there, and then I start moving in a circular motion because I want the ink to fade out towards the outside. You could, of course, also cover this stencil with one color completely. There is no need to switch colors if you don't want to. So I'm just going to do the center a little bit more intense and then fade it out. And I'm going to use Lemon Whip for the smallest one. And let's do apricot first, because if I want it darker, I can always go darker, but I can't go lighter. All right, I completely forgot to mention, yes, currently we have a freebie available for orders of $25 plus, except gift cards. So if you order anything from the website with $25 or more value, then you can get a free double-sided Swiss dot hot foil plate. Just make sure that you add it to your cart from the pop-up. So as soon as you hit the $25, there should be a pop-up and you should be able to click like add to cart or something. Make sure you do that, because once you once you submit your order, we can't add the freebie afterwards. So that's important. I'm just thinking if I want to add a little bit of apricot on here too. Just going to use whatever is left on my brush because I do like how the peachy tones look together with the coral reef. That was a bit too much. Now I want more coral reef. Okay. As I said, you can also just use one color and you would be done even quicker with this whole thing. You don't even need to spend this much time on it. Now you can see my flowers aren't complete, but that's not a problem because once we die cut them, or once I die cut them, they have, of course, the like flower shape and it will all make sense. Let me zoom you out again a little bit. Whose birthday is it? Cordelia. Happy birthday. Okay, now when you're done with ink blending and you want to line up your die, all you have to do is look for those alignment triangles again. You can see them here. Of course, you need to have your die the right way up, but that is also really easy to see because you can see now the triangles are facing the other way. So just flip it, look for the triangles here. And once you have that lined up, maybe use a little bit of tape to keep it in place, just so that you didn't do all of that ink blending work for nothing. I know I tend to be impatient and just die cut and then, you know, maybe regret it. Although with those stencil and die only product suites, the nice thing is that even if you didn't die cut perfectly and you do end up having a bit of white on some of the die cut, you can usually easily cover that again because you have no stamped outline. And I'm going to show you in a second what I mean. Hold on. So let me just move that here. So here you can see this is one part of the die cut. And here's what I was talking about. So you can see that you have that bleed around the die cut. So you have that wiggle room. So even if I moved the die a millimeter or two to one side, I would still end up with a perfect die cut. And even if, let's say, this part of the leaf, I didn't, you know, I moved my die a little bit and it was still white, all I need to do is just grab my brush again and just go over that, and I have a perfect die cut and no one would know it. So this is what I really like about those stencil and die only product suites, is they are really forgiving. And I think especially, not only, but especially for beginners at ink blending, I think they can be great to just test things out, like test the blending, test using different colors, shadows, lights, all of that. Because you don't have to worry about the stamped outline. So I think, you know, they're great for that. So yeah, this is what it can look like. I also have this left over from I don't know when. So I just want to show you that this looks great in lots of different colors. This was a very, as you can see, very, very light, kind of elegant color scheme. So the leaves were colored with warm buff and peach fuzz. And then for the flowers, I used, I think, coral reef and cherry blossom. They look really light here. They are not as light as they look on camera right now. But still, I think, you know, you can get lots of beautiful color combinations with this. And I just want to show you, hold on, yeah, here. So here you can see some project samples with this product suite. So the second one at the top, for example, was one that I made with this release, where I used much brighter, intense colors, kind of jewel colors. And I think it looks great in that too. And maybe also the card below that with those really intense colors. I think they are perfect for this sort of oriental style. So lots of great samples. Make sure you check out the product page, because we always have lots of project samples on each product page to give you some inspiration. And there you can also see lots of different styles using the same product, and also lots of color schemes. So if you feel a little bit uninspired, you don't know where to start, maybe just look for a card that you really like there and try to recreate the color scheme, and then just go from there. Question. I'm new to press plates. Are they a die as well, or do I need to order a die set too? So press plates are not a die. Press plates are, as you can see, they don't have a cut line on the outside, but rather they are kind of like well, they are a plate. They press something into the paper. So instead of cutting, they press. Meaning you can either do letter press, so they press ink into the paper, or you can do hot foiling, which means they kind of press the foil into the paper. So maybe that helps kind of remembering what a press plate does. It presses something versus a die that cuts something. So you always, if you want to have a die cut element in the end, either like, the sentiment or image or whatever, you need to either fussy cut or you need the coordinating die. So the press plate would be what you can use instead of the stamp, but not instead of the die. I hope that makes sense. Okay. All right, I hope that helps. And so let's see. I'm not sure if I maybe need more floral pieces for what I have in mind. I'm just going to start with this because you saw how quick and easy that was. So I can always just do another set of ink blending if I need to. Are the press plates like an embossing folder? Well, sort of, but not. It's an embossing folder also presses, yes, but an embossing folder can't be used to hot foil. So it's not, they are not the same. All right. So what I thought I would do on my card front, I had lots of different ideas and I couldn't really decide on something. So I'm just going to go with one of the ideas. And that was because, the name of this product suite is Trailing Grace. So, it kind of trails, as you can see. And I thought I saw a card a few weeks ago where someone had created sort of like a fence using just white paper strips. And then arranged some flowers kind of, trailing along that fence. And I thought these flowers would be perfect for that. So I'm going to try and do something similar. I don't remember who that card was by. I just saw it when, I don't know, browsing Pinterest or Instagram or whatever. I don't remember. So I'm not trying to take credit for this idea. Just want to make that very clear. Question. I did invest in the letter press, better press. Do you have a class on it, or do you know of a video I could learn from? We have lots of videos on our channel. So you can also just open our channel and then there should be a search field somewhere. And then you could type in better press, for example, or press plate. I'm not 100% sure if we have a dedicated playlist. If we don't, I think we need to create one. But yeah, that would be a good place to start. But yeah. All right. Kathy says, Kathleen, I love your teaching style. I'm glad to hear that. All right, so as I said, I saw someone doing kind of like a fence thing with just using white cardstock, and I'm going to try something similar. Sorry. So I'm just going to, first of all, cut some, maybe I'm going to try it with 3/4 inch strips. I haven't measured anything, like I haven't tested it, but we will see. Hold on, is that a 3/4 inches? I guess. All right. So basically what I thought I would do is just use some, it's white on white right now, it's hard to see, I know, but I will pop them up with foam adhesive so it will be easier to see. So basically something like this, and then have some kind of like fence posts like this. I need one more, and I don't want to cut into a perfectly fine panel for just one strip of paper. So so maybe like something like this, and we will see. If I need more, I can cut more. Sorry about that. So I thought I would do something like this, pop it up on foam adhesive, and then I could kind of tuck those behind to make it look like they were trailing along a fence and kind of peeking out from behind a fence, something like this. So I think the easiest thing to do, so I don't drive myself crazy with all of these pieces moving around the whole time, is probably adhering them together first, and then I can put the flowers in. Hold on. I'm trying to space them out evenly. You all know I'm going to eyeball this, right? No one's expecting me to measure this, I hope. So yeah, I'm going to eyeball. And I'm going to move those kind of fence posts in. I'm not going to start at the outside edge, because with 4 I have too much space in between, but for a 5th one I don't have enough space to have those flowers peeking out. So as I said, I'm going to eyeball. We all know that. So let me grab, what do I need? I need foam strips. I need low-tech tape. And a little bit of patience. So hold on. Let me just first of all do the vertical posts. I should have kept that longer. Trying not to move it. Okay, that worked well. And this, perfect. So now I can add my foam tape behind here. So I'm just going to cut this to size. Oh yes, we definitely have lots of trellis type dies. Yes, so actually, hold on, good thing you mentioned it, Jody. Because I actually did grab the Lacy Lattice die. That was my first idea, to use that one, and I think that would look really cute too, because you also get this kind of trellis look. And you can see you can kind of stick it in here and have it peek out. Also really cute. But I don't know, once I had that image of the fence in my head, I knew I needed to make it. Sue, I'm sorry, I don't have extra patience to give. I usually run on kind of like, you know, minimum amount of patience needed, if at all. I'm definitely not a patient person. So I'm just doing 2 on each side just so that it doesn't, you know, kind of sag in some places. Okay, friends, I hope I'm back. I hope I'm live. Please tell me I'm back. I hope I'm back. It at least on my end, it looks like I'm back. I don't know. See, I was telling you, I was like running on my last bit of patience. So yeah, thank you, internet gods, for really testing my patience. Okay, looks like you can see me. All right, I don't know what happened here. That is the first time in, I think, a year or so that my connection went out. Great thing to happen 4 days before the event. Yay. But okay, I'm glad I'm back. Anyway, what I was saying is that it wasn't too clever to already peel off the backing because I do want my flowers to kind of peek out from behind the fence. And once I adhere this down, I won't be able to. So I have to do a little bit of, you know, whatever. Melissa says that means it won't happen during the event. I really hope that that is what it means. I want to believe that, but, you know, I'm skeptical. Anyway, I'm back. I hope it stays that way. All right, I'm just cutting down my horizontal fence posts, or whatever you would call that part of the fence. I have no idea. Just so I can also adhere those down to make sure that I have my flowers in the right place. Now these I won't adhere down with foam adhesive, I think, or maybe, we will see. I can always peel it up. Again, eyeballing to have sort of roughly the same distance from the top and the bottom. Peggy says, I signed up for the event but can't remember what time it starts. It starts Saturday, 9 a.m. CT, but you also should have the schedule, or not you should have, I know you have, the schedule in your event booklet that was part of your kit, and then also in the digital version and the PDF and everything, you also have the schedule. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is what I have in mind. Now I need to figure out where to put my flowers before I adhere the fence down. Again, you know, learn from my mistakes. Don't peel off the backing until you have your flowers where you want them, because this is going to be a little bit fiddly here, but we will manage. So maybe something like this, but then again, I'm not sure if I want this, the trellis, or the, not the trellis, the trailing flowers you know, in the middle or if I want it off to one side. Just checking. I think I'm going to use this sentiment just because it fits this really nicely, I think. I feel like this is a bit too large and this is just the wrong shape. So I'm going to use this one, and let's see. You can also, of course, snip those pieces apart a little bit and use them separately, especially, you know, since this is a no white outline design. That's what I really like about those, is when you snip those apart, you can't really tell. You know, you don't have like a broken stamped line that would show that you would, or not a broken stamped line, but rather a stamped line where it shouldn't be. So you would need to cover it with a white gel pen, for example. You know, that's also doable, but with those, it's really nice and easy because you just snip it apart and no one would know, since you can't see any outlines anyway. So I think maybe something like this, where it kind of moves across the top here. And then, okay, I'm going to try it. I'm going to tear this down. And I think the flowers should probably stay in place just by, you know, sticking to the foam tape here. So I don't think I need to add any extra adhesive for those, at least not behind the fence. Hold on. Okay. Again, eyeballing here. And now I can take off that low-tech tape. By the way, if I missed any questions while I was dealing with my internet gremlins, please just ask again. I know I said I'm not going to add these with foam adhesive, but then, you know me. I love my foam adhesive. So yes, I'm going to add, but I'm going to add thinner foam adhesive. So this is just 1 millimeter thickness, and the one I was using for the large fence posts is 2 millimeter thickness. Now, with the whole eyeballing thing, I think on one hand it is a bit of practice, but also one important thing to keep in mind when eyeballing is don't press the pieces down until you are sure where you want them to go, because usually, or a lot of the times, you can get away with peeling something up once, maybe twice, if you didn't press down. And I don't always remember that myself, but just saying. I think Sue was saying that this is the perfect card for her gardening neighbor. I think that's, I think it's actually perfect for gardeners. And you could use lots of different flower product suites with this, but I just felt like this trailing grace was perfect because, it has the word trailing in it, and it really does trail, so we will see. I'm not sure if I want to use the third one. We will see. I'm going to add a little bit more adhesive here so it doesn't flap around like that. How much time do we have? Oh, 20 minutes. Okay. Don't you like when an idea you had in your head actually works out and looks nice and looks like you imagined, or sometimes maybe even better than imagined? Because honestly, there's nothing worse than having or feeling like you have a great idea, and then once you execute it, you look at it and you're like, that's not what I thought it was going to look like. So when the opposite happens, it's always nice. Okay, so I just added foam adhesive behind the flowers because that will already keep everything in place. I don't really need to add much more, maybe one more behind the large leaf, just so it stays popped up for that dimension. You know I like dimension. And I didn't add this to, you could also add the fence directly to a card base. You don't need to add it to a separate panel. Sorry. But to be honest, I just didn't have any card bases ready-made. And yeah, you know, I mean, you all know how you would attach this to a card base. So, all right, so I have question, where do you get your foam strips? I got mine from scrapbook.com. They have different thicknesses, and I just usually get like the, what's it called, variety pack or whatever, where I get every thickness there is, 1, 2, and 3 millimeters. And then I can also just trim them down to something smaller if I need to. And it's really nice to have these ready-made, also to, for example, create shakers and have this, just put it around the border or whatever. All right, we will see. I'm not, as I said, I'm not sure about the this part here. I'm going to add my sentiment first. So this one says, you always find a way to amaze me. And as I said, this was from the Room for Joy sentiment set. That is also part of the newest release. So you have 8 sentiments. And if you don't like or don't have a batcher press or a hot foiling system, you can of course also use the stamp. And I have some shadow layers already die cut, because when I stamp or hot foil my sentiments and then die cut them, I always make sure to die cut at least 2, maybe 3 shadow layers to have them on hand, because I know I pretty much always add shadow layers. Either I just stack it up so I have a thicker, more sturdy piece for my sentiment. With this one, it's not that difficult to use foam tape because it's pretty solid. So I could also just use some foam tape or foam dots, and it would work fine. But sometimes you have a very, very intricate sentiment, and then it's great to just stack it up with some blank die cuts. Or what you can do is use those blank die cuts and add actual shadow layers. You could either die cut it from some glitter cardstock, or you can die cut it from white. Tracy, I'm proud of you. Yes, you did what I was just talking about. She layered her sentiment with some glitter cardstock. That's always a great choice to add that little bit of extra sparkle without, you know, being too much. Or what you can do is just use 1 or 2 of your shadow layers. Where did it go? Oh boy. Anyway. So what you could do is just use a color from that you also used on your card, for example, and ink blend that, or you could also swipe the ink pad over your blank piece for a more intense color. And sometimes I'm not 100% sure I want a colored shadow layer, but the nice thing is that you usually, so what I mean is, you know, when you adhere it like this and then just shift it slightly so you have that shadow. So even if you're not completely sure, you can usually get away with just stacking it up completely, because you usually can't really tell that you colored the piece underneath. So sometimes I feel like, okay, no, the shadow layer doesn't look what I thought it would look like. So I just stick them, you know, right onto each other. But I would really like to use my 3rd shadow layer wherever it is. How can it be gone? Oh, there it is. And another thing that's also really nice is to do different colors of shadow layers. So let me just show you. So I'm going to use, actually no, I'm going to use Peach Fuzz because I just want a light color. And this time I'm going to swipe it so you know what I mean. So you could just do it like this. And basically only the outside edges are important because the inside will be covered anyway. So I don't need it to be perfect. And then you can do different colors of shadow layers and have them kind of staggered, if that's the word I'm looking for. Kind of, you know, like this. And that way you can repeat some colors that you also have on your card and make your sentiment stand out a little bit more. But to be honest, I don't know. This time I actually do prefer the no shadow layer look to have that white on white effect. It's rare, but and actually maybe using liquid adhesive might be the better choice because it gives you a bit more time to move things into place just to make sure that you line them up perfectly. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Now you really can't see that I even colored the blank die cuts. You can see it from the side, but I don't mind because that's actually also kind of a nice look. It's really, like really subtle. And yeah, I think this is pretty much the perfect place for this sentiment. So more foam adhesive it is, obviously. Sorry for the sniffling. I hope I didn't miss anything. Okay, so I'm just going to add this down here, like so. Okay, and maybe add some gold metallic pearls. Hold on, let's see what I'm going, if I want to add. I feel like this is too much. I don't know. I feel like it takes away, you know, it's a bit too leafy down here. Let me actually zoom you in again a little bit. Sorry about that. Okay. So yeah, I don't want that much leafy bits down here. I'm not going to add this one because, you know, the colors are way too different. I'm just trying to see if maybe one more floral element might be nice. You know, something like this. Or if I just stick to this clean-ish and simple card. So yeah, I think I'm going to keep it like this. Just some bling. And I think I'm going to use the gold metallic pearls just to repeat the gold from the hot foil sentiment. Oops. So let's see. Yeah, I like that. I like the gold. And that's pretty much it. Maybe one more tiny one. And that's it. I'm not going to add more. I want to keep that clean look. Sorry. Yes, you could definitely use something like silver or white to kind of mimic nail heads in the fence, but I had my mind set on gold. Cece said, don't you do it in threes? Well, you know, it's not a hard rule. Yes, often adding things in threes makes it look more harmonious versus like even numbers. But to be honest, sometimes, you know, I think you should all know by now, I don't always, you know, go by the rules. Again, it's not really a rule. It's just something to help you with designing balanced projects, cards, scrapbook layouts, whatever. But sometimes it's also just do what looks good for you, you know. And I wanted to have a fourth one, so I just added a fourth one. Sometimes it also depends on how large the element is that you are adding. Because if it's a really large one, then yes, adding something in like 2 or 4 kind of can make it look a little bit odd, which is funny because it's even. I digress. But with really small things like this, I think you can all see it doesn't really matter. And you could easily add another one to have 5 so that you have, you know, an uneven number again. All right. So this is, I'm going to keep it like this. I'm not going to add more. This is the finished design. I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. And as I said, you could easily recreate this with other flowers and have them kind of peek out from behind the fence. So let me just there, change my camera view. This might be the first time that I'm actually done before the 60 minutes are over, and that even though I had some tech issues, or well, internet issues. All right, let me know. I would really love to know what you think, if you enjoyed this, if you are going to maybe try this as well. As I said, I do want to clarify, I saw someone create like a fence design card somewhere. It's not my idea. It just popped into my head earlier today when I was looking at the Trailing Grace. But I don't remember where I saw that card. So I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that I'm not taking credit for something that I didn't come up with. All right. Okay. I'm just going to give Jody another minute to randomly pick the winners. And remember, if you're watching this on a replay, make sure to leave a comment below. Again, I would also love to hear which part, maybe which tip you enjoyed the most, or what was new for you, maybe the colored shadow layers or the whole stencil and die only product suite. And yeah, then we are going to randomly pick 2 winners from the replay as well. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, we would love it if you could give it a thumbs up. And let me think if I need to tell you anything else before. Hold on. Jody has the winners. Lissette Long and Melissa Johnson. Congratulations. You are today's $50 gift card winners. Make sure to email customer service at pinkfreshstudio.com to claim your prize. And give Jody, you know, 2 or 3 days to get back to you, although she usually gets back to you super quick. And then have fun shopping. And oh yeah, there was one more thing I wanted to mention. So the Trailing Grace is, as I said before, what we call a stencil and die only product suite. We just added a category image, you know, right on our website on the start page that says stencil and die only. So if you click on that, you will see you will find more product suites that work exactly the same way, where you have a stencil and a die, but no coordinating stamp or press plate. All right. Congratulations to you two. Thank you so much to everyone for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a great time. And I hope you will join us again next week when it's Carissa back on the Pinkfresh Studio channel. And for anyone joining us this weekend for our card making event, I can't wait to see you. And I hope you are or will be all prepared. And we will have a great time. So thanks so much, everyone. Thank you, Jody. And have a great day. Bye.